because it was like, I was kind of thinking along those lines as well, kind of thing, you know, but the lads had actually done it, you know, they had the, you know, the...
I mean, maybe a lot of people don't know the story about how you came to join Horselips. You were playing in a couple of bands around Limerick, Jeremiah Henry, and you're at a festival in County Clare, was that right?
County Clare, yeah. I was playing actually in the late 60s, 68, 69. I had been with a band in Limerick called the Sweet Street, and in 1969 formed a band with two ex-members of Granny's Intentions, who were a big band in Limerick at the time, and the bass player and drummer. We formed a band called Jeremiah Henry, and we were doing quite a few gigs around the country now, but there was one festival in Ballyvaughan in County Clare, and it was a weekend. I think it was probably the last great hippie festival to be held in Ireland, but there was a couple of bands that were headlining. I think it was Horselips were at Skid Row, and there was one or two bands from Dublin as well. But the day that we were on the show, Horselips were headlining, and I think the lads kind of saw me playing that day, and you know, kind of sort of said, well, we're looking for another player. I think this is the man, or whatever, you know. So yeah,
that's how it happened. Jeremiah Henry, what kind of band were they? You did covers and Love and Spoonful, and Buffalo Springfield, that kind of thing, the American thing.
Yeah, we were doing a lot of American country rock stuff, like which was kind of at that time was fairly new. We were doing a couple of Neil Young things as well, and he was just about, you know, after the gold rush, but you know, just been released, so he was just about getting known, and so it was kind of like, it was a country rock band, but a mixture of blues, a bit of blues as well, but also the Love and Spoonful, who I was a big fan.
Any songs in particular that you remember playing that you could maybe drag up now?
I haven't done a John Sebastian number for a very long time. Just trying to think of something. There isn't one in my head at the moment.
Daydream was one you mentioned. I'm not sure if that's the one that you were thinking of. No,
which Daydream? Which
What a Day for a Daydream. Tricky chords, but can you remember any of it?
Any of it, yeah. Great song. Day for a daydream. What a day for a daydreaming boy. I'm lost in a sweet dream, dreaming about my bundle of joy, and a bit of time is really on my side. I pick the day to take a walk outside. To pick up your ears, you'll be daydreaming for 1,000 years. What a day for a daydream, custom made for a daydreaming boy. I've been having a sweet dream, dreaming about my bundle of joy, and even if time it passes me by alive, I couldn't care less about the Jews you say I got. And for your daydream you may pick up your ears, you may be daydreaming for 1,000 years.
And they really didn't rehearse any of this. So you were absorbing different influences, and then happened in Clare, and you were on the same bill as Horselips, who'd been around for a little while before that. They had a single out.
Yeah, Johnny's Wedding was at the time was a huge single, and they were the number one rock group in the country at that stage, you know. So and when I got the offer, it was, you know, it was absolutely fantastic. Actually, Charles came. Remember Charles? I was living in Shannon, but Charles actually came down from Dublin to in those days phones and things like that, you know, were sort of a bit of a luxury. So he actually made the trip down to ask me, you know, if I'd like to join. So I went up to Dublin, and I remember going to Jimmy Lockhart's house, first place I went to, and upstairs over his dad had a butcher shop. and James's Street, and overhead, Jimmy had the piano in the room, and we had a bit of a jam together to see what way things might, you know, and it went from there. You know, it was fantastic.
So it wasn't a difficult decision to make to join the band, and you were what, very young, still 18, 17?
18, yeah. I was coming up to 19, I think, yeah, at the time, yeah. So I was still 18, yeah. So it was pretty young. So it was a big, yeah, it was a big jump. It was a big leap for myself, certainly. You know, kind of
any hassle from the folks at all at home?
No, actually, my parents were great. They always encouraged music, but Dad was a very good harmonica player. You know, so I mean, and my mum was a lovely singer. You know, so the music was always in the family. It was, you know, so there wasn't any objection. You know, I suppose at that point as well, I was kind of already with bands and kind of playing, so it would have been probably the next step or something like that. You know, but going to Dublin going up to Dublin, moving to Dublin was probably a pretty big thing.
Can you remember the very first Horselifts gig you played at? Presumably it was a big venue.
It was indeed. It was a stadium, I think. It was it jumped right into the deep end. I think it was the National Stadium. I think we did a few warm-ups. I think the very first, my memory is the very first gig I played at Horselifts was the Red Barn in Youghal, which there was a couple of ballroom gigs that were warm-ups. Barry might remember it. Barry Dublin, by the way, folks, is here today as well. I think it was the Red Barn in Youghal. I think we had one or two, but then it was the stadium in Dublin. We rehearsed, actually, I remember, up in Donegal for 2 weeks, like before. I joined the band in, I think it was October of '72, and the first show at the stadium would have been coming up in November early, I think, you know, probably early November. But we rehearsed up in Donegal for 2 weeks. Then we drove down to Cork, I think. We did 2 gigs. One was the Red Barn anyway, not it. And you know, big ballroom, big boomy ballroom, you know. And then it was on to Dublin for the stadium. The big one, yeah.
It must have been fantastic for a young guy.
It was incredible. It was absolutely unbelievable.
And you had to learn all their songs.
Yeah, the lads. I mean, they already. I mean, all the set list of them. You know, I mean, they had like everything ready for concert and for dance, also for ballroom type gigs as well. So I had to learn like everything that was on there. Yeah, it was more or less what was done on the first album. Happy to Be Sorry to Part was what the band were doing at that time. You know.
And so, can you remember anything about doing that first album? Because it happened pretty soon after you joined.
It did actually. We recorded we started recording in November, which is literally like after the stadium. After we'd done the stadium, and I learned like everything that the lads had arranged for the first album, really. You know, so that was kind of the solos were, you know, the ad-libbing solos would have been my own, but everything else was kind of I learned it from Jimmy, actually, you know.
Yeah, and you started writing as well at the time.
Yeah, the band, like even when Happy to Meet Sorry to Part was being recorded, the idea for the next album, which was the time, was already, you know, there were some things like happening, and that was the first album that I for me, like, I really started on the Town, I suppose. You know, it was the first original album for me, even though for Horselifts, like Happy to Meet, you know, it was obviously the first album, you know.
Is there anything from those days that you'd like to give us a clip of?
A clip of? Well, I suppose the big one was Jared Doom, so...
Yeah.